Oh, this is fun. Republican investigators in Congress have a new and slightly troubling question for the FBI. Now, why didn't the Bureau tell them that the guy who triggered the Russia investigation actually had a multi-million-dollar connection to the Clinton Foundation? Reporter Alison Spann has been investigating Australian diplomat Alexander Downer. She now joins us to discuss her article just published in The Hill tonight. Alison, great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so now this is like a cast of characters. This is like a mystery novel. But tell us about Alexander Downer and his connection to all of this Papadopoulos character and why it's important.
So if you remember, in the summer of 2016, Alexander Downer was the one who came out with his evidence about George Papadopoulos. He said he had a drink with him in a London bar, and Papadopoulos revealed to him that he knew that Russia had some dirt on Hillary or might have some damaging emails to her. So he's the one that actually gave that information to his government. The Australian government gave it to the U.S. government, and that launched the whole Russia probe into Trump-Russia collusion.
Yeah.
Well, now we find out that Alexander Downer has a tie to the Clintons.
Now, what a tie? Now, he's at a bar in London. He runs into Papadopoulos. The circumstances around how he ran into him is interesting. You addressed that slightly in your piece.
Right.
But now, fast forward 2 months after he sees him in that bar, Australia brings this to the FBI.
Right.
It took 2 months. That's kind of interesting.
Took 2 months.
But then you find out that of Downer's connection to the Clinton Foundation is?
He secured them a grant for $25 million from the Australian government, funded by taxpayer dollars, to go towards AIDS prevention and treatment in Asia.
Oh, that's great. AIDS prevention. I mean, what could be wrong with that? So $25 million foreign money from Australia goes to the Clinton Foundation. Now, is there any question about how that money was used or whether it was fraudulently obtained?
So there was an audit that was conducted 3 years later, and it just wanted to basically go through and see what that project had achieved. Now, they did achieve some great things as far as getting those children the antiretroviral drugs that they needed and might otherwise not have been given a chance to get. But there were some questions about the money in that case and whether it was handled properly. And in fact, the report goes on to say that it was so mishandled that it was actually detrimental to the project. And they were given a score of 2 out of 6 for handling the money. And
2 out of 6?
Yeah,
That's
2 out of
great.
6. Now, the effectiveness...
That's typical Clintons, 2 out of 6. That's actually a high mark for them in handling finances or ethics. I just want to read this. This is from the Clinton Foundation audit. Some management weaknesses were noted with human resource management, the absence of readily available and useful budget information showing exactly how funds were spent, and project monitoring. So it's not a resounding plus, but the more important thing is, why wasn't this revealed? That's a big grant. That's a connection to the opposition candidate, to Donald Trump. He happens to be in this bar. He happens to meet this Papadopoulos guy. He happens to funnel the information. And he's not a minor figure. He's a well-known liberal politician in Australia who's buddies with the Clintons.
And I think that's what a lot of members of our Congress are asking now. We talked to Jim Jordan for our story, and he was shocked when he heard this information.
So you brought it to Jordan?
We brought it to these congressional committees who
They didn't even know.
No, they didn't know. So we
Nice
actually
work.
brought this information to these congressional committees who are investigating this case. They had no idea. The FBI did not disclose this information to them. So they're shocked, and
That's unbelievable.
they want this to be investigated. And in fact, Jordan said that he wants a second special counsel because, as he says, that the FBI cannot investigate themselves.
This is one more example. First, you had the dossier being funded by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. That wasn't revealed to the FISA judge.
Right.
And now you have this.
Well, and there's actually 4 pieces of information they didn't reveal. The dossier was funded by the DNC and Clinton. Sidney Blumenthal, who is a close Clinton supporter, was funneling the information to Christopher Steele through the State Department. And then you had the Yahoo article that was quoted in the FISA application was written by Michael Isikoff, who got his information from Christopher Steele. And then now we have this connection between Alexander Downer and the Clintons.
Now
So
say that backwards really fast.
I know I know the Russia investigation is very complicated, but yes, we have 4 instances now. All 4 pieces of information came from people who at least knew the Clintons.
Just for fun, this guy Sam Nunberg. We are totally out of time, but Sam Nunberg he worked for the, he worked for the Trump campaign for 5 seconds. Anyway. He's refusing to speak to Mueller. He was on CNN earlier tonight, and I'm sorry, this is too funny not to play to you. Let's watch.
So, Sam, I have to ask you one other thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's an awkward question to ask, but, you know, I've interviewed you before. You're sitting very close to me.
Yes.
We talked earlier about what? people in the White House were saying about you.
Yeah.
Talking about whether you were drinking or on drugs or whatever they had happened today. Talking to you,
Yeah.
I have smelled alcohol on your breath.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's
No.
not.
No.
So I just, because it is the talk out there, again, I know it's awkward, let me just give you the questions. You can categorically answer that. No, you have had a drink today?
My answer is no.
Thoughts?
It was painful to watch. I don't know how I would react in a situation like that.
But he's not testifying before it. I don't know him at all. I mean, he was hired, fired. I mean, but he's not testifying. He's not talking to Mueller. I mean,
sounds like he could possibly be facing some jail time if he refuses to show up in court and doesn't provide those documents. So, just another piece of the puzzle for this.
Maybe he just has really bad halitosis or something, or he chews gin and tonic gum or something. I'm like, who knows? Could have been anything. Allison, I hate to drag you in on that mess, but I'm sorry.
Not drunk.
That was what. Allison Spann, The Hill. I'm not drunk. That is the quote of the day. I'm just kidding. Great reporting, you and Solomon.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
To play politics, and we're told a key witness was interviewed in December dealing specifically with any comparisons between donations to the Clinton Foundation and government actions while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. That's the first investigation. There is also Hillary Clinton's private email server. The Hill has now published a report featuring former FBI Director James Comey's original draft on the investigation, which uses the term gross negligence and says there was evidence Clinton committed a felony. Anti-Trump FBI agent Peter Strzok reportedly softened the language in Comey's draft so Clinton could avoid criminal charges. The DOJ is exploring whether to reopen the probe. The Justice Department is also asking FBI agents to explain evidence gathered in the now dormant Uranium One investigation. The DOJ is deciding if a special counsel might be needed. Uranium One is the 2010 transaction where the Obama administration allowed the sale of U.S. uranium mining facilities to Russia's state-run energy giant. The Hillary Clinton-led State Department was among the 9 U.S. agencies that approved the deal. Finally, there's a potential probe into allegations the Obama administration tried to secure the Iran nuclear deal by ending a federal investigation into the Iranian-backed terror group Hezbollah. But ending the investigation reportedly led to Hezbollah trafficking hundreds of millions of dollars of cocaine into the U.S. and building up their base of terror. Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State at the time. The Clintons claim these are all efforts by Trump to divert attention from Robert Mueller's special counsel. Tucker.
Trace Gallagher. Thanks a lot, Trace. Congressman Matt Gaetz is a Republican who represents the state of Florida. He joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks for coming on. So, I don't know if you can hear me, Congressman, but if you can.
I got you, Tucker. Just heard you.
Excellent. Thanks. So the Clinton people are saying, look, you know, Hillary Clinton has been a private citizen for a long time. She's been out of politics, in effect, for a year. Why now? What's the significance of these, do you think, for the rest of the country?
There may have been acts that occurred at the State Department as a consequence of bribes paid to the Clinton Foundation, which are creating an ongoing security concern for the United States of America, Tucker. Take, for example, the Hezbollah story you just mentioned. It's not just cocaine that's being trafficked. You've got Hezbollah working in common cause with narco traffickers in South America to move opium, to move heroin, to move people into the United States. And the investigation that was going on to degrade these networks, to degrade the collusion between Hezbollah and South American narco traffickers was smothered by people at the Justice Department, and there is a suspicion that the State Department, led by Hillary Clinton, had a role in limiting the American people's access to information about Hezbollah being funded and their operations in this country because they wanted the Iranian nuclear deal so bad they didn't want us focusing on the fact that Iran has funded over 100 mosques in South America to recruit people and then to send them to the United States to do harm.
So that's one of the investigations into that, and it does seem, if true, first of all, it's hard to defend, but second, it has obvious national security implications for this country. Tell us about the investigation, to the extent we know much about it, into the Clinton Foundation.
Well, the accusation is that the Clinton Foundation was merely a money laundering operation where people paid in order to have access to the State Department, and there were notations on particular documents and bids where people would write FOB, friend of Bill, which means those were donors to the Clinton Foundation, and as a consequence, they were given special treatment. That's the type of thing that we have to know about now, not to exercise some revenge on a defeated presidential candidate, but to ensure that we don't have people right now acting as vendors on behalf of the United States of America, not as a consequence of their merit or what they can do, but because they're friends and potentially donors to the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, well, I mean, that whole operation was false from day one, obviously. Why has it taken so long to get these investigations underway?
You know, we've been calling for this for over 5 months. 20 members of the House Judiciary Committee sent a letter to Attorney General Sessions saying that we've got to look into these things because of the ongoing security concerns. And finally now, we have Hillary Clinton dealing with investigations cascading down on her like it's a bomb cyclone. I think the day's coming soon, Tucker, when we'll be sending an I'm with her T-shirt to Hillary Clinton's cellmate.
Yeah, I mean, so you think that she is criminally exposed, potentially?
Absolutely. Look, if people were taking bribes and then as a consequence of those bribes engaging in actions that they would not otherwise be engaging in, that is a crime. You cannot do that in the United States of America, and we've got to go now and remedy the consequences. Take, for example, the subject of your show tonight, the opioid problem. If you had people trafficking and would have been found out otherwise, we've got to now go back and remediate the harm that the Clintons caused this country.
Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tucker.